Hello, travelers. Welcome to the Copper Fox Inn. My name is Thomas the Human Bard, and I'm joined today by...
Mercy the Tiefling Wizard.
Onog the Half-Orc Barbarian.
And Bean the Rock Gnome Rogue. And travelers, you can take a seat with us here at the tavern.
Yeah,
Well,
why are
we're-
you standing there?
No, we've lost the plot already. It's been so long since we recorded. We're in a dungeon today, not the tavern.
right.
Because this is in
Well-
Unearthed Arcana.
Deep Delve.
Well, I have Mordigan's Magical Tavern
Oh,
popped up.
Moringan's
Which is why we are
Magic
safely
Manor.
able to record a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got Maximilian's Magic Manor with you. Yes, of course.
Yes.
On today's episode of the podcast, we will be discussing the newest Unearthed Arcana 2022, The Cleric and Revised Species. This is the newest release in the ongoing series of coverage of One D&D. Wow.
I think it's weird that they changed Cleric to a species.
Yeah, it is weird. You can be a human, you can be a dwarf, you can be a cleric, you know.
I mean, you joke. That's how one D&D used to be. It was like elves can only be wizards and
Yeah.
these guys.
It used to be,
I'm just
wasn't
imagining
it,
they're like,
halflings were the only race that like could be
yeah, and like
thieves or
first
stuff
edition, like
that.
thief meant you were a halfling or something.
Right.
It was a whole thing.
I'm just imagining like a sort of humanoid that has a really tall head, like their skull is tall, it like their head has like a pope's hat like built into it.
The cleric species.
I
They're
hate-
just like
yeah.
I
big
hate
head
that.
aliens.
Like a pope's hat, but that's just their skull.
Their
I
skull.
hate-
They're just all
I
Kiadi
hate
Mundis.
that. Thank you. I hate it.
I mean, cone heads.
This document is the third in a series of Unearthed Arcana articles that present material designed for the next version of the Player's Handbook. The material here uses the rules in the 2014 Player's Handbook, except where noted. Providing feedback on this document is one way you, yes you, can help shape the next generation of D&D. Ba 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 ba. D&D Next Generation. That was the reference.
Oh, I see.
So most of this on the first page and a half is the same template, kind of boilerplate stuff, except for one box I wanted to chat about. What is ahead in the one D&D playtest? We have many
Usually
things.
the top of the shoulders and
Yeah, it's shaped like a pope's hat.
neck,
We've
yeah.
talked about it.
Yeah.
We have
Did you
many
guys-
things in...
Did you guys feel Onog pull a joke out of my mouth?
Yeah, physically ripped it from your very throat.
I literally thought about saying the same thing, and then I was like, there is a 0% chance one of them is not about to also say it. I don't need to.
We all share one brain cell. We pass it around. We have many things in store for you in the months ahead. Here are some highlights. Revised versions of every class from the 2014 Player's Handbook. We've been going through those already. We've hit most of the expert classes, and we're going to now be talking about the cleric here. 48 subclasses, including the one in this article. New and revised spells, new and revised feats, new weapon options for certain classes, which is very interesting
Okay.
to me. I don't know what that's about. A new system for creating a home base for your characters.
That's cool.
Oh, now you're speaking my
Uh-oh.
language.
Mercy's eyes lit up. A home design system.
now we can all just play.
Animal
Her Animal Crossing
Animal
bar
Crossing,
just
yeah.
filled.
Ooh, you let me
Revised.
build a little house in any game, I will pay any amount of money to do that.
No, don't say that. It's don't encourage
You will do
them.
that. It will be free.
Revised encounter building rules and new and
Great.
revised monsters. As the playtest progresses, you'll also see new versions of some things that we provided feedback on earlier in the playtest.
I'm
Nice.
curious.
I think-
48 subclasses. Do we know roughly how many there are currently?
Yes,
I think that's-
But they're changing it so that there will be an even number for every class. They talked
Because
about that in
current-
an interview.
Yeah, because currently there's like 1,000 cleric subclasses
Uh-huh.
and like 5 ranger subclasses.
Because if there's how many? There's 3 times 4. There's 12 classes. So that means that there will be 4
classes.
subclasses
Subclasses.
per, which means that things like the wizard and the cleric will be losing some subclasses, but then probably ones that have fewer to start with, like the barbarian, will be gaining
Right.
them.
So I'm not sure if
Because
that's
this is varying on the original Player's Handbook subclasses,
right,
not
right.
the new like.
So I think that
additional
is
ones.
probably a few more subclasses than are in the current player's handbook total. If you were to add it up, I think that they have an average of less than 4 per class currently.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think most of them have 3,
Maybe
and cleric and wizard have like 9 or something.
maybe Thomas later will have to put a graphic on the screen that says how many there are.
Don't make me make a graphic.
But,
oh, God.
I believe the new weapon options for certain classes in the video they released just before they dropped this playtest material. I think they specifically said like other things for marshals to do with their weapons, which is I think what Thomas and I were complaining about at the tail end of the rogue video we did, where we were like, when I'm a barbarian, I just smack stuff, and that's the only thing mechanically in the rules I'm allowed to do in the game. And so the fact that they are saying like, hey, we're going to give you something else to do is very refreshing, and we'll have to see how that turns out.
You can get more creative in combat.
Yeah. So let's start. The document goes over some more template stuff, talking about differences in power level between this and officially published material. They're experimenting, they're trying things out here, they want feedback. The point is to create something worth discussing. They talk a little bit about formatting with class groups and class features. If you're confused about any of that, feel free to refer to some of our earlier videos covering the 1D&D documents. But generally speaking, there are 4 class groups now: experts, mages, priests, and warriors, and every class falls somewhere within those categories. Those don't have unique rules themselves, but are referenced by things like items or feats or other parts of the game. The cleric would be a member of the priest group. So let's start reading the cleric's description here. Cleric, class group priest, primary ability, wisdom. Clerics draw power from the realms of the gods and harness it to work miracles. Blessed by a deity, a pantheon, or another immortal entity, a cleric can reach out to the divine magic of the outer planes where gods dwell and channel that energy to bolster people and to battle foes. Because their power is a divine gift, clerics typically associate themselves with temples or shrines dedicated to whatever deity or other immortal force unlocked their magical ability. Harnessing divine magic doesn't rely on study or training, yet a cleric might learn formulaic prayers and ancient rites that help them focus their minds and spirits on drawing power from the outer planes. Even a cleric who declines to worship their divine benefactor might perform their benefactor's rites if doing so helps the cleric feel connected to the immortal realms.
Interesting.
Not every acolyte or officiant at a temple or shrine is a cleric with a capital C. Cleric with 3 C's, am I right, Phil? Some
I mean, there are 2 C's.
it just needs one more.
We can't keep saying the same things.
Some priests are called to a simple life of temple service, carrying out their devotion through prayer and rituals, not through magic. Some of the most influential high priests are incapable of harnessing divine magic, and a few of them feel threatened when a cleric appears. Many can pray, and some mortals claim to speak for gods, but few can marshal the power of those gods the way a cleric can.
These clerics are demonstrably divine beings.
These are demonstrable
So I like the idea
miracle workers. Other priests aren't the same as this.
A cleric is like saying 30 Hail Bahamuts or whatever, and it makes him have some kind of magic. And someone's like, oh, wow, so you're a follower of Bahamut? And he's like, oh, I don't believe in Bahamut. Well, why do you do this? Well, because
it lets me shoot
when
fire out of my eyes.
When I do 30 Hail Bahamuts, I shoot fire out of my eyes.
Well, doesn't that prove he exists? I don't see
the connection.
I don't see why it does.
But this is an interesting departure of the existing flavor of clerics, where I think they're still some of the only classes that can, tick off the source of their ability.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like that it gives you a lot of room to play with what
relationship
role-playing wise, what that means to be a cleric.
Well, I like the idea of you can be someone who, people love the story elements of a person, battling with their own faith, of maybe being in a spot in their life where they don't feel like, they could have formerly been a priest, but then they went through some tragedy and they felt like their god didn't help, but they still have the powers of their god that they can use, but now they have maybe not as a good-hearted relationship with that deity anymore, and there's a lot of drama there for that character.
Sure.
I was trying to parse that, yeah, and think of like what's an example where this happens narratively. And one thing that popped into my head is does Moon Knight necessarily worship Khonshu?
That's true.
Not really. No.
They're very similar to warlocks in some ways, though, in
Yeah,
the pact giving
yeah.
system. Whereas
Right.
this is literally a god is like almost without you needing to be willing, just giving you divine powers and being like, do what you will with them. And then you say, well, I don't even worship you, and they say, deal
could
with
be
it.
it leaves a lot of room to be a reluctant
Yeah.
chosen one.
Which is very cool.
Yeah, which you couldn't really be before. Where a god says, you are my vessel, and they say, I don't want to be, and the god says, well, you
Too
are.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Classic
cool.
prophet story.
It does also create at least the way I'm interpreting this paragraph, is it creates the opportunity for cross worship in like character creation, where it's like I want to do this domain, but the only guy, the only god in that domain that I want to worship is Cord, but like I don't like his vibe, but I really like Hephaestus's Cord. So can I like be in this divine domain but still worship Hephaestus? And because it's like, well, it doesn't really matter who you worship anymore. So you can be in like the war domain, but worship a creation god or something.
I think the really interesting difference here is that in the original Player's Handbook, it says that they gain their power from like their worship, whereas here it specifically says, quote, their power is a divine gift. Just that some god or immortal entity just decided that you should be a cleric and gave you powers, maybe because you
Happy
were
Hanukkah.
a worshiper, maybe because you were a priest of theirs that they liked, but they could just pick a random, the classic Old Testament, like pick a shepherd out of the field and just say, you're my champion.
Maybe because you
now.
were born on a holy feast day under the right alignment of the planets.
And it's just a gift, regardless of whether or not you, quote unquote, deserve it or have earned it. You know what I mean? Whereas like a warlock, it's all about wanting that power. You're trying to make these bargains and pacts to claim power for yourself. This is like, you might not have even ever asked for this.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool angle.
That's really cool. That's interesting.
I never asked for this.
Asked for this.
Got that out of the way.
Yeah, let's skip ahead here a little bit. We'll go by the class table here. Hit points. Hit dice, 1d8 per cleric level. Hit points at first level, 8 plus your constitution modifier. Hit points per level after the first, 1d8 or 5 plus your constitution modifier. Proficiencies.
Normal.
Saving throws, wisdom, charisma. Skills, persuasion, religion, or choose two from history, insight, medicine, persuasion, and religion. So any two from that list, but the default to the suggested two are persuasion and religion. Weapons, simple weapons. Tools, none. Armor training, light armor, medium armor, and shields. Starting equipment. As a first level character, you start with the following equipment. You can forego it and spend 110 gold pieces on equipment of your choice. I'm still upset about the not all of them having the same gold piece equipment thing. Chain shirt.
Some people are richer than barbarians and monks.
Chain shirt, holy symbol, mace, priest's pack, shield, and 7 extra gold pieces in your pocket.
Some loose change. Some walking around money.
I like the idea that when you sign up
Go see a
to
star.
be part of an
Wars.
order of a temple, apparently one of the first things you receive is a backpack full of stuff.
Is also a mace. They're like, look, you're very pious gentlemen. Here's a metal
whacking.
stick.
It's not a
Hit
mace,
people
it's
with
just
it.
one of those, again, a lot of popes and prophets carry those sticks with like a big heavy golden cross on the
Oh,
end.
so true. We actually just
Which
went
is just
to
a mace.
We just went to the Metropolitan Museum the other day, and I was looking at some old relics of like priest staves where they have really ornate toppers on them. Things like big snake heads or like real big crosses. You could use that as a mace easy. That could clobber somebody pretty good.
Yeah, you put a gold or brass ball with like the symbol of an angel on top. Those wings are going to be pointy.
Oh, yeah. We'll skip the multi-classing block. It works, how multi-classing works, more or less. Cleric class features. Let's get started here. As a cleric, you gain the following class features when you reach the specified levels in this class. These features are listed on the cleric table. The first thing to talk about, real quick, before we even dive into these, with the standardization across all classes of subclasses arriving at 3rd level, you no longer begin with your divine domain selected. In current D&D, you basically get your cleric subclass, their divine domain, at 1st level, and it completely colors everything about your character's
Your entire thing.
starting nature. But due to this sort of homogenization of class progression layout, you're now going to have 2 levels before you pick what divine aspect or area you are gaining your powers from. There are still some ways to slightly modify, we'll talk about, but it's going to be an interesting thing to discuss as we move on here. So no matter what god you say you worship lore-wise, when you start off, this is what you start with.
I mean, story-wise, it's kind of cool because if we're going for you're a simple shepherd and you're picked, you could just have like a little bit of magic and you're like, I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then you find out. Or you've been worshiping in this temple of a specific god for a really long time trying to get their powers, and then you find out that it's a completely
You were
different
chosen
god
by someone else.
has
That's
chosen
good. I like that. That's
That's
really
fun.
fun.
and you're pissed.
So 1st level, Channel Divinity. You gain the ability to channel divine energy directly from the outer planes, using that energy to fuel magical effects. You start with 2 such effects, Divine Spark and Turn Undead. Yet again, I understand the history of Turn Undead in D&D and what it means and all, but
It sounds like you're turning
it
someone
always
undead.
sounds like you're making somebody become an undead person, or that you yourself are becoming undead. I wish they would just change the stupid name of it. Repel Undead would be better as a random example. Each of which is described below. Each time you use your channel divinity, you choose which effect to create, and you gain additional effect options at higher levels in this class. You can use your channel divinity a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest.
Oh, that's different.
So
That's different.
Original channel divinity is once per short or long rest, is that correct?
Yeah, it starts at, first off, my name is Onog the Barbarian, and welcome to the Divinity channel. Okay.
Okay.
I needed to get that out of myself.
And you're watching Divinity.
And you're
And you're
watching
watching
channel
Bum,
divinity.
bum, bum.
Yeah.
But it used to be once per short rest at 1st level, and then at like 11th or 13th level, I'm not particularly sure,
bumps
you
up.
would gain another one.
Yeah.
And both paladins and clerics would gain channel divinities, but they explicitly don't stack with each other. So you can't like be a paladin with your own channel divinity and then dip into cleric and get a second one. You just still only have one.
Interesting.
So, but now that it's
Proficiency bonus
against
per day,
your
basically.
proficiency bonus, no matter what you're multi-classing into, this will gain more uses and more power as you level up.
And it means it starts at 2 per day, which is roughly equal to, once per short rest.
Once per short
Which
rest,
is,
yeah.
I mean, not really, but kind of, on average. But then it will start moving up to 3 per day, 4 per day, 5 per day, 6 per day as you're leveling up, quickly kind of outstripping the old one in terms of you can just spam this. Later on you get 5 per day. They can all be 5, like, one turn after another.
That seems to fit with, I think, one of the directions they're going with 1D&D of trying to structure play in a way that incentivizes you not to be so precious with your resources so that you actually do
Yeah.
your cool stuff.
Do your cool stuff, do it more often, feel like you're doing your cool thing. Yeah. I think that's totally fair. Some channel divinity effects require saving throws. When you use such an effect from this class, the DC equals the spell save DC from this class's spell casting feature. So it's it's like it casting any spell that has a save. It'll just go off your spell save DC. Divine Spark. So this one's entirely new. As a magic action, which is kind of a new thing, but also kind of not.
So that's like untap.
Because
upkeep.
Yeah, magic
Draw.
actions like declare attackers, draw 2 cards.
before there was like a spell casting.
Cast a spell action.
Yeah,
it's
something
it's
like
like
that.
that. Magic action means an action in which you do a magic thing, like cast a spell, use an ability that requires a magic action,
Right.
activate a magic item that requires a quote magic action.
That's a cleaner way.
So
to
they're cleaning that up
structure
a little
yeah.
bit.
Yeah, and it's also things like this are also important to distinguish when you run into things like anti-magic shields, because that's been a argument in D&D circles since 3rd edition, is like, are key points magic?
Yeah.
Very
Because
good point.
some of them say like you can cast a spell with your key points, and some of them say you can expend your key points like you're casting a spell, and is that different? And so it's like the fact that they are saying this is magic, the thing that's happening is magic, is a very important delineation for like higher level play.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, on that note, this new structure leaves way more room for, I think, interesting world building obstacles in terms of you could have an anti-arcane field or an anti-primordial field or whatever the different types of magic were. Primal, was it primal,
divine,
arcane, and divine?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like for this example, like if you had like an anti-divine magic field, you would know what counts as that or not, because it's just like, are you a cleric? Okay, then it's all of that stuff.
That's
Anything
an interesting
that you
idea,
could do.
like a wizard's tower putting up an anti-divine magic so they don't get messed with by the local temple or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, that's interesting.
Kind of cool ideas, Mercy. I really like that. So, as a magic action, you point your holy symbol at another creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself and focus divine energy at them. You hold up your crucifix and you say, "Out, demon!" Roll a number of d8s
basically.
equal to your proficiency bonus and add the rolls together. You can either restore hit points to the creature equal to that total, or force the creature to make a constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes radiant damage equal to the total, and on a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage. So you hold up your cross at them, you say, "Out, demon!" And if it's your friend, they heal, and if it's a demon, they take some radiant damage from it. A decent chunk, depending on, where you are in your level progression, because it's based off your proficiency bonus of d8.
So it's giving them a damage option basically, or a heal option, even if they're tapped out of spell slots.
That's a very classic. I mean, I feel like in a lot of, like a lot of faiths, you have this idea of like, and then molten metal will cover the earth, and if you are righteous, it will feel like warm milk, and if you are wicked, it will burn you to your
like
bones.
holy water being like a blessing to the righteous, but it repels the wicked or something like that. Yeah. This idea that the people you want it to help, it helps them, but the people you don't like, it hurts them. I think it's cool. I like the utility of it, that if you want to lean more into being a support cleric, you can be healing up your party, but you can also just go straight damage and every once in a while pull out 2d8s of radiant whenever you need it without spell slots. Like, kind of cool.
Man, it's so hard to talk when you're talking about D&D mechanics, because I went to go, but you can just smite them, and it's like, well, I can't say smite because that is
No,
a
you can't
thing.
smite them.
Colloquially,
That is a specific
smite.
mechanic.
Yeah.
It's actually two distinct different mechanics, because there's smite,
There's spells that are
the
smites?
action, and then there's smite spells.
But even just
But
now,
that's a different
when you were
conversation.
using as an example, but if it's a demon, I had to think to myself, oh, but not it. The spell doesn't literally say it has to be a demon, because a demon is the thing.
A demon
in
is a real
D&D.
thing. Demons are real, is what we're here to tell you, listeners. Or turn undead. As a magic action, you become undead. As a magic action, you present your holy symbol and speak a prayer censuring undead creatures.
Turn
don't-
around every now and then.
That's
I
the-
get
yeah,
a
that- it
little
has
bit
to be that
zombie and
prayer.
they're never coming round.
Each undead within 30 feet of you, you could have done, "Turn back, O man, forswear thy foolish ways."
That's pretty good too.
You turn me round, baby,
Baby,
round,
round.
like a demon, like a zombie.
Like a zombie baby, right around town.
Each undead within 30 feet of you must make a wisdom saving throw. If the creature fails its saving throw, it is dazed. We'll get to that 1 second. It is dazed for 1 minute, or until it takes any damage, or you are incapacitated or die. While dazed in this way, the only action the creature can take is the dash action, and if it moves, it must end that move farther from you than where it started.
So this one doesn't compel them to move. It just says the only thing they can do, if they want to do anything, is move, and if they do move, they have to move away.
Aha.
So that's a little bit, unless we figure out what dazed does,
I'll
that's a
pull
little
dazed
bit
up
weaker,
real
but
quick. Let me go down.
So especially if it isn't forcing them to run away, turn undead really is not a
But
good name.
But you can just spam this a lot.
That's true.
more
Which
than
is very
you
nice.
used to be able
So
to,
dazed,
even if dazed isn't.
Dazed is an interesting new condition. While dazed, you experience the following effect: limited activity. You can move or take one action on your turn, not both. You also cannot take a bonus action or a reaction.
Oh.
So that feels sort of like in a video game mechanic, it would say like slowed or something.
Well, but slowed is already a different
See,
ability.
yeah.
But dazed is saying you can only act or move. You can't do both on the
and
same
you can't
turn.
react and you can't
Yeah.
take a bonus
And
action.
for these, this is even an even more specific version of dazed because it's turn undead dazed, which
It's a
means-
special form of
translates
dazed.
the only action you can take is the dash action. So the only thing they really can do is move.
Yeah. Right
But
now,
does it specifically say they have to move away from you?
it says
No,
if they move.
Well, if they move.
It says if
They
they
have
move,
to
they
move
have to
away.
end their move farther than where they started. But theoretically, they
Okay.
could move,
Run
like
in.
run in and then run away at the end of that move.
Like a classic rogue move.
But they can't.
in,
They can't.
smack,
well,
leave.
but it has to be the same move. They can't split it up into run at you, attack, and then run away or something. Like they.
So I guess they could run at you and scream and then leave.
They.
It is interesting to note that this is probably to get around the like this is basically the fear spell but for undead.
Kind of,
because most undead are immune to fear effects.
Which we'll now see if they end up accidentally making some undead immune to dazed and then going, whoops, we did it again.
Well, what was the point of
But
that?
here's my called shot. You all ready for this? I'm pointing at the green monster. I'm going to hit a home run over it on this pitch. Instead of monks having their immobilizing punch, they're going to daze people now instead.
they're going to be able to
It's
It's going to
daze
be
instead
dazing.
of stun.
And stun locking is too
but
good. They're going to make
you'll
it
be
dazed
able
locking.
to yeah, but you'll be able to use it more often or something like that.
But that'll be it. That's my called shot of why this is even here to begin with.
So while we've got Jeremy here in the room with us,
Yeah.
real quick.
Pull him over. Pull him over. I need loud chair sliding sound effects as if we're dragging a heavy metal object, and then the muffled cries of a person who's obviously duct taped to that chair. Okay, yes. Oh, yes, Jeremy. We have a question.
What are our suggestions for a better name than Turn Undead?
Repel undead.
Repel. There you go. We fixed it. Okay, moving on.
Yeah. That's mine.
You guys, you're messing with
What
decades
about-
of tradition.
What about undazed?
No,
Days
that-
Undead?
That does the opposite.
Dan's macabre.
It dazes
Days
them.
the Dead?
Dazed of the dead.
Dazed of the
There it
dead.
is.
That's
Dazed
very
Wait,
of
oh
good.
wait, wait, no, wait.
Dead.
What's the dazed and confused undead
Dazed and confused of the
of the undead?
Dazed and
of the
dead.
dawn of the dead. Wait, no.
Oh.
All right, Jeremy.
Of the
what,
planet of the
what do
dead.
you
What do you
think?
like, Jeremy? Oh, repel undead. Thank you. Yes, yeah, repel undead works perfectly fine.
No, we're not getting you any water.
I said that's pretty good.
Okay, no, I can't hear what he's saying. First level spellcasting. You've learned to cast spell. He smells really bad. Let's scoot him back away. Somebody, we need to wash him. You have learned to cast spells through prayer, meditation, and devotion. Or maybe not. I don't know. It said earlier you didn't necessarily have to do that, but whatever. See the player's handbook for the rules on spellcasting. The information below details how you use those rules as a cleric. Prepared spells. So clerics are prepared spellcasters because apparently everyone's prepared spellcasters now. You have the following spells prepared: Cure Wounds, Sacred Flame, Shield of Faith, Spare the Dying, and Thaumaturgy. Alternatively, you can prepare 3 0-level spells, also known as cantrips, and 2 first-level spells of your choice. Any spell you prepare for this class must be a divine spell. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can pray and meditate and replace any spell you have prepared for this class with another divine spell of the same level. At higher levels in this class, you can prepare more spells, as shown on the cleric table. The numbers there determine the number of different spells you can prepare for each level. I'll skip the example. Spell slots. The cleric table shows you how many spell slots you have at each level to cast your cleric spells. I will also skip the example. We get the idea. Wisdom.
Well, but it is interesting to note, just not going over the examples, but this is continuous with, as we've seen with the bard and I think the ranger, where it's everyone is a prepared spellcaster now, but you can only prepare a certain number of first, second, and
Yes.
third level spells or something.
You
like
can't
that, based on how many
have-
spell slots you have.
You can't just have 15 first level spells prepared or whatever. It's all, yeah. It's a little bit different now. I think that's a little bit to make it streamlined and easier to understand, so you're not as worried at the difference between spell slots and spells. But
Or so like you don't accidentally prepare 4 third-level spells and you can only cast 2 of them, and you don't have enough first-level spells to cast the ones that you do.
spellcasting ability Wisdom is your spellcasting ability. Spellcasting Focus, you can use a holy symbol as a spellcasting focus for the spells you prepare for this class. Second level, Holy Order. Holy Order, Batman!
Hey! The brain
The
cells
brain
switched.
cells. You have dedicated yourself to one of the following sacred roles. I just pictured like a bread roll. Either
Lion rolls.
sacred roles, either on your own or as a part of a religious order. Choose one of the following.
Sacred rolls. Quit talking about me, Thomas.
Well, I mean, you always were the holy roller.
What? Okay.
Is that anything?
Oof. Oof. Choose one of the following options. Protector. Trained in battle, you gain martial weapon proficiency and heavy armor training. Scholar. Studying and teaching about lore of the gods of the multiverse, you gain proficiency in 2 of the following skills of your choice. Arcana, History, Nature, Persuasion, and Religion. Whenever you make an ability check using either skill, the ones chosen from this ability, you gain a bonus to the check equal to your Wisdom modifier.
Ooh.
Damn.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
It actually makes you good at religion.
Yay! Thaumaturge. Delving deeper into your divine magical abilities, you can prepare 1 extra 0-level spell from the divine spell list. See your spellcasting feature for more information on preparing spells. And in addition, you regain 1 expended use of your channel divinity whenever you finish a short rest.
Nice,
What?
nice, nice,
Okay.
nice.
Okay.
One of that ability is not like the other
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah, my gut tells me that last one is bad.
What?
Yeah, that's not good
What's wrong with it?
compared to the others.
An extra cantrip, and then you get every short rest one of your channel divinities back.
But
which you normally only
eventually-
get back on a long
But
rest.
you have so many channel divinities in this new version,
you have
especially
2.
at higher levels. But you get more
You get
as you
6.
level up.
But you also, that means if you take, let's say, 2 short rests during the day, now you have double the short rest,
I
or
think
double the channel
that
divinities.
the Thaumaturge ability would only be good at low levels, and once you
What-
got to higher levels, you would really wish you had taken Scholar or Protector.
Or like, yeah, honestly, that also might come up later.
That might come up later in the
class. But specifically, if you have if your subclass has a pretty nasty channel divinity, if you take Thaumaturge, now you truly can just spam that over and over again.
'Cause
You take a short rest, you get 1 back. You take
almost
another short rest
every-
later, you get it back.
Almost every cleric subclass will grant you some new use of your channel divinity, some new type of channel divinity to invoke. So it depends on what the options end up being. But I get what you're saying in that immediately martial weapons and heavy armor seems quite good. Like, that's hard to pass up.
Or just buffing your abilities.
Your skills if you're going to be the skill-focused one of the group.
I think the problem with Thaumaturge to me is that getting 1 expended use back whenever you finish a short rest is only good if you usually use all of them up prematurely, which to me
well, you
seems
don't have-
unlikely.
According to this, you don't have to use all of them.
Just one of
don't
them.
you?
Just regain one of the expended
it just says you get 1
Well,
back
but
on
I'm
a short
saying it
rest, so
doesn't
you can just
matter.
use it
Like
it
getting
used
one
to
back
work
isn't
and have it
helpful
work.
unless you would have run out. Like it's only helpful to get 1 back if you
It means you get an extra
would
one.
have used them all up.
That's a fair interpretation.
It may
Interesting.
just
Do you
depend on your
understand what I'm
play
saying?
style.
Like,
Yeah.
And then cantrips, by their very nature, aren't that good.
See, what's really interesting to me is that if I could get my channel divinities back on a short rest, I would use them more often because I know I'm going to get 1 back when we short rest after the fight. So I will then use that one, and then the next time we short rest, I'll get another one back, and then we'll go back to long rest, and I'll get my 2 back. So I've actually doubled the amount that I have during the day.
Right, but again, that's only helpful if most days you use all of them.
But the thing is,
Well, and
they're
that's-
very easy to
that's-
use because one of them is
yeah.
just heal your friend or deal damage, which is
And that's
Fair.
I'm going to use
That's
that all
a
the time.
fair interpretation, especially as channel divinities currently exist with the paladin and cleric. Not all channel divinities are created equal.
Yeah, some are going to be
You know,
way
the
better.
Oath of the Ancients paladin channel divinity only works on on fey creatures, and it lets them choose the save they get to make. So it's really bad. But then there's like some other channel divinities that are like, this guy just doesn't get to attack anymore. It's like those are two. One of those is much better than
if the
other
only
one.
channel divinity option was turn undead, I would agree with you completely. But because one of them is literally just deal
Just
some
heal
damage
or
or
damage,
heal for
sure,
basically
sure.
free because it's not a spell slot. That just means before any long rest, I'm just going to heal some people up and then take
And
before
what
any
does
short
the-
rest, I'm going to heal them up, take my short rest, get it back.
And remind me, the channel divinity, how does that interact with the action economy? Does it use up
It's an action. Yeah.
I believe each one is an action, depending. And once again, it depends on the specific one. But all the ones we've seen so far.
But it's not a spell, which means if I have a concentration spell going, I can use it still and not lose my concentration.
I am skeptical of if that will be useful at higher levels, just in terms of the amount of healing or damage it's even able to
definitely,
do.
that's
I could see how, depending on the type of campaigns that you usually play, I think that with our group, they're usually very, very roleplay heavy, and so I feel like Scholar would be better than Thaumaturge. But if you're
Well, yeah.
if you are in a campaign where you have like 3 combats every day minimum, then maybe Thaumaturge would be better because you'd use those up more.
Or
You'd have to
like,
see.
Protector based on the kinds of enemies
Right,
you're fighting,
right.
right? Which I like. I think that this is where you, instead of at first level choosing your divine domain, your subclass, this is basically
yeah,
at
these
second
used to
level.
be split up.
Yeah.
These used to be split up amongst the divine domains, where it's like if you were a storm cleric, that means you got heavy armor and martial weapons. And so now we have more player freedom
Oh, I
because
love
that.
that. Yeah, I
one
think
of the
this
one
is
of the things
great.
before was like, forge clerics only get heavy armor proficiency, but they don't get the weapon proficiency. So now you can pick and choose which one you want, and it falls on the line of, you can be the chunky cleric, you can be the slippery cleric, or you can be the spicy cleric.
Yeah, no, I think this is great in terms of making it more modular. I love this as a concept for the cleric. I just would want to see that last one play tested at a level higher than 4 and see if it's still good.
Yeah,
I think that's
see
totally
if
fair.
see if it even matters in the long
Yeah.
run.
Yeah. At third level, you get your subclass, which we'll talk about. There's one provided. The life domain is the one provided in this document, which I think is actually quite interesting. We'll talk about that more later. Fourth level, let's say it all together. Feet. I didn't hear Bean say it. Bean.
Bean.
Everyone else said it, Bean.
Feet.
Fifth level, Smite Undead. You can cause... Okay, so here we go. The turn undead. We talked about, well, what if you don't fight undead? This still only matters if it's undead, but it gets better. You can, fifth level Smite Undead. You can cause your turn undead feature to smite the undying. Whenever you use turn undead, you can roll a number of d8s equal to your proficiency bonus and add the rolls together. Each undead that fails its saving throw against that use of turn undead takes radiant damage equal to the roll's total.
Wait.
So this
this-
kind of mixes both of them together, and it now...
So you're basically using them both.
Yeah, when you turn the undead, if they fail their saves, they also now take 8 radiant damage on average.
So it's called Turn Spark.
Yeah,
Well,
spark
so
turn.
so this is a replacement as this ability currently stands in 5th edition. Smite Undead, or Destroy Undead, I think it's called, basically says, depending on your level, certain challenge rating of undead are automatically destroyed by your turn undead when they fail the save. So this is different, but better, I would argue,
think it's
because
better,
instead of just spam destroying a bunch of little guys, you might just do enough damage to spam destroy a bunch of little guys, and the big guys are hurt in addition.
Yeah,
to
they've
being
taken a couple
turned,
points
as
of
opposed,
kind of free damage, basically.
Yeah.
as opposed to it just not really affecting them, but then they get scared anyway.
That makes
It
it
would
more
be too
broadly
powerful,
useful.
but like there's certain things in Magic that like Magic the Gathering that let you like treat all monsters as undead. And so if
Oh
you
yeah,
as a
you can
cleric
change the species of
got
creatures.
to do something like that, as like for the next hour you are able to recognize a monster of your choice, like a type.
What if instead of
creature type of your choice as undead?
What if instead of turn undead, it was
would be
like
really funky.
It was like turn the heretic
like
or something, and you could choose one monster type per day to be the heretic that you are destroying.
Like moving
and-
over the favorite enemy.
Yeah, kind of a favorite
to the
enemy.
cleric.
Well, that's kind of what happens to certain paladin subclasses, because some of the paladins are like the Oath of the Ancients. They hate Fey and Celestials, so they can like turn. They don't turn undead. They turn.
a group.
They
like-
turn infernal creatures and Fey creatures, which are like more powerful but less available, and like different ones are like this one turns aberrations and this one turns all these things.
I did always think it's interesting that clerics, no matter what domain or like god you worship, it's always undead. Because what if you worship a god that's like into that?
That's super
Well, it's
foreign.
the god
Yeah.
of the undead. That's a
Yeah.
tough one, Bean. I don't have the
Zombie
answer for
lord.
you. I think it's a
Well, they don't
holdover
like
from earlier
these
editions.
undead.
Bean,
They don't like their realm being scalped by whatever poser you're fighting.
Bean, if turn undead let you like treat all creatures as undead, that would make the name turn undead like actually correct.
I blew this wide open. I solved the case,
Bean
guys.
solved the case.
Oh man.
Holy
Everybody
shit.
go home.
That's incredible. 6th level subclass feature. Another subclass feature. 7th
I
level. It's very
I turned the
good.
Jackalware into an undead, and now he's
And now turn undead. Got him. 7th level Blessed Strikes. Divine power infuses you in battle. When a creature takes damage from one of your 0-level spells, cantrips, or your attacks with weapons, you can also deal 1d8 radiant damage to that creature, just for free. Once you deal this damage, you can't use this feature again until the start of your next turn. So this is very similar to like Hunter's Mark or something, where you just get kind of a 1d8 once a turn, kind of for free.
they're just making these guys holy rangers.
Well, I mean,
Hold me
this is
closer,
an ability
Holy
that
Ranger.
we are all on one today.
this is an ability that's similar to how it's currently worded, not only in all of the cleric subclasses, but also the Tasha's ruling. Specifically, this follows more to the Tasha's ruling, where it's a cantrip or dealing weapon damage,
Which is nice.
Whereas, like, the Forge Master, they get a D8 of fire damage when they deal weapon damage. The Lightning Cleric gets a D8 of thunder damage, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then like the Light Cleric gets a D8 added to their cantrips damage, but not anything else. So this one homogenizes all those abilities into one ability, so they're not in the subclass anymore. They are just in the main class, and it makes them at least as D&D the monster meta stands right now, the much superior damage type of Radiant.
Oh, yeah.
And it also extends it to either weapons or your cantrips.
What's really interesting is that it doesn't make you very good against fighting God, which, what's better than the dramatic story of a cleric who wants to kill God?
Especially if it's the god that chose.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That'd be awesome.
The plot thickens.
This working on your cantrips is another reason why getting an extra cantrip isn't all that bad. It's still pretty decent, because getting a couple of
Now you got more stuff.
damage cantrips, not too bad. 8th level, Fiat. You gain the ability score improvement Fiat or another Fiat of your choice for which you
get a free
qualify.
Fiat?
You get a fiat. You get a fiat.
I'm not sure what it means by Fiat.
I'm in charge of money.
Maybe we'll learn later in the document what a Fiat is. 9th
It's
level.
a tiny cart.
9th level, Holy Order. Holy Order. Your sacred duties have expanded, allowing you to choose a second option from the Holy Order feature. So remember,
There you go, Mercy.
remember Mercy, when you said, "Oh, but Thaumaturge might not be as good later. I would have wished I had taken Scholar." Well, you can. Now you can almost always pick the one that makes sense early on, and then
Right.
find out where you're weak and take the second one later. I think somebody did the breakdown on it. It's like really the obvious best choice is one of these, and then you'll pick between the other two later. I don't remember which one. It might have been Protector, but
Just
Protector
glancing at it.
early on, the ability to use martial weapons
and heavy
without
armor.
question.
I mean,
That is
it'll bring
the
your
solution to most
survivability
of
way
the
up.
problems.
I think from a roleplay perspective, if you are trying to be less of a beefsman, even though I think like in the meta that's going to be your best bet is to pick Protector. I think if you want to be more of a spicy than a chonky, I could see someone going with Thaumaturge in their early
And pick up-
levels and then picking up Scholar. But I bet that either way, I think Scholar is going to be a common second pick.
Because it's just, and now I get to be a skill monkey
Yeah,
better at
just
on
skills.
top
just
of
improve some of
whatever
your
other
skills,
feature
yeah.
I was providing.
Yeah.
if you've noticed that your group is missing out on some element of the skill, the skill pie, as it were.
The real clincher for that one though is that you get to add your wisdom modifier
really
to
good.
these things.
Yeah.
So not only even if you like rolled really well and you were already good at charisma, if you choose persuasion, now you are the best at persuasion.
Like +6 to that.
you get a huge bonus to persuasion.
Well, and like Thaumaturge, I think is probably better in the early levels. Later levels, your wisdom modifier will be higher, and so it will do more picking it later as your second one.
Yeah. 10th level, subclass feature. 11th level, Divine Intervention. You can call on your deity or pantheon to intervene on your behalf when your need is great.
How come your deity lets you have a whole pantheon?
As an action, not a magic action, just a regular action, describe the assistance you seek and roll percentile dice. If you roll a number equal to or lower than your cleric level, so you get this at 11th level, so let's say 11, the divine power intervenes. The DM chooses the nature of the intervention. The effect of any divine spell is appropriate. If the intervention occurs, you can't use this feature again for 2d6 days. Otherwise, you can use it again after you finish a long rest. So if you fail, you still can't try again. You have to wait a day. But if you succeed, you have to wait like a week.
A week.
Yeah, or whatever. 2d6.
Hey, who wants a wish spell that only works 11% of the time at level 11?
I mean,
The clerics do.
That's
The
better
clerics
than
do. I mean,
no
for sure.
percent.
Like,
Clerics
it's pretty good.
absolutely do.
11%? I mean, that's not too
No,
bad.
I'm saying like that's really good.
That's 1 in.
You just spam that every day.
It's a little bit more than a 1 in 10
You're-
chance.
after about 2 weeks, it's gonna happen at least once.
I really appreciate the guidance because sometimes, as the current divine intervention, it's hard as the DM to know exactly what's an appropriate response. Be like, well, so does God show up and kill every bad guy in the world for you? Like, what do I do here? It says, an appropriate response could be any divine spell's effect. So you want to do something really cool
So it
and
could be a
impressive.
9th level
Pick a
spell,
9th
yeah.
level divine spell and have it happen for free, basically. You want it to be a more, minimal showing of power. Pick up maybe a lower leveled spell to just happen for free. Either way, they're getting a thing for free. Like, it's still pretty good.
It's thaumaturgy and all the windows
It's
closed.
it's just thaumaturgy. It's just thaumaturgy to make a bush look like it's on fire.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
That's all it takes sometimes. Yeah. I like it. I
So
mean,
let it be
as
written.
far as divine, it's a little weird because percentile dice are so uncommon in D&D to have it be not in just like, oh, one specific spell requires it, but a mainline class feature asks you for a percentile roll.
Yeah.
It's just uncommon, but I'm not against it. It's cool. I think it's a good way of balancing it. Once you hit 20th level, 20 out of 100, that's a pretty good chance. I mean,
That's a decent chunk. That's a decent
that's a
chunk.
fifth,
1/5.
right? 1/5.
Yeah, 1 in 5, yeah.
That's not too bad. And if you fail, you can always try again tomorrow. So if you're in one of those long form like hex crawl campaigns where every day matters and time passing matters a lot, you can just churn a couple of those out over a weekend and all of a sudden your chances are going up because you're just rolling so much.
Now it is interesting. Once again, if you so there are the alternative rules in the Dungeon Master's guides of like hardcore like resting rules.
Yeah.
Where a long rest isn't sleep for 8 hours and a short rest isn't an hour nap. A long rest is like you don't do anything for a week.
Yeah.
And a short rest is you go to sleep for 8 hours. So it's interesting in the way that interacts with this rule is if you succeed on your divine intervention, you actually can use it. There's a % chance that you would be able to use it before you could normally get it back if you failed.
You roll double ones.
If you roll double ones, you can use it in 2 days. Whereas, like, if you fail, you have to take a whole weekend off.
If you're using the gritty, hardcore rest rules.
You know, that honestly still kind of works, though,
That's
in the
interesting.
flavor of in a grittier world where the failure is more harshly punished than the success.
Yeah.
I just suddenly just did the math and realized that, so it was just very interesting.
12th level, feat. 14th level, subclass feature. 16th level, feat. I'm getting... Okay, here's the thing. Can we talk about this real quick?
Wait, 15th and 13th level got skipped.
Yeah, you just get new spells on them. You don't get anything else.
I think, but this is the first subclass or the first class we've seen where, because that's what they did with the bard. Is sure the bard gets spell levels every level, but they also got abilities every level.
Yeah. I'm not sure how
So
I
there's-
feel about it.
I mean, that's fine because that's, like we said, that's normally the reward for being a full caster. Is at the odd levels you just get more powerful spells.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that they didn't do it this time.
So here's the thing. I like the ability score improvement feat, and I like the standardized subclass features, but it does make the class layout kind of boring of being like feat, subclass, feat, subclass, feat. Oh, one actual real new thing. I don't know.
Yeah, for 5 levels, you really only get one ability.
Yeah.
For 5 whole levels, from 11th level to, I mean, you could even say even longer.
You're getting other things, if you're taking feats and if your subclass is cool, but it's interesting. I don't know how I feel about it yet.
At least on paper, on this specific section of the paper, looks kind of boring.
It looks a little empty. Yeah, it feels a little sparse. 18th level, Greater Divine Intervention. When you use your Divine
better.
Intervention feature, it succeeds automatically, no roll required. You can use it again after 2d4 days.
That's pretty zesty.
Dang.
You just get it. You say, hey, can you please cast Wish for me real quick, or whatever? I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
really
Wish isn't
zesty,
on the Divine list, I don't
actually.
think,
Well,
actually.
I mean, but to be fair, this is at the level at which wizards can cast Wish.
Yeah.
So the
Let's see,
fact that they
divine.
just get Divine Intervention,
Here's the
they
ninth
have
level.
gained Divine Wish.
Here's
Yeah.
the 9th level Divine spells. Astral Projection. Foresight. Foresight, that's incredibly good.
Foresight is really good.
Gate, if you just need to go somewhere.
It's very good.
Mass Heal. Power Word Heal. And True Resurrection.
That's
So-
Those
big.
are all
Yeah, and
very useful.
And if none of those are gonna, deal damage on anybody. I mean, technically, Foresight makes you good at doing stuff. But 8th level, you've got Sunburst,
That's
which is
very
a pretty decent evocation divine spell that can go off if you're like, please smite my foes. Sunburst could go off for free. Not bad. Not bad. There's a lot less of the big, powerful, smiting kinds of spells in the divine list these days, based on how they've broken it all down.
I think they're gonna have to make more. And add
We'll
them
see.
in,
Yeah, we'll have
probably.
to see how they. I mean, there's still lower level smites and things, and there's flame strike and all that kind of stuff. But at the higher levels, lots of it is regenerate, resurrection, anti magic field, astral projection. Like it's buffing and utility stuff. You do occasionally have things like symbol, which symbol it can deal a lot of damage if you do it right. But
How much do you think they'll end up doing in 1D&D in terms of subclasses giving you access to spells that are not normally on your spell list? So like how likely do you think it would be that it would be like, oh, well, I'm in the cleric domain of death and now it gives me access to these necrotic arcane spells?
interestingly,
well, that's what subclasses used to do.
Yeah.
In current 5th edition,
Yeah.
the trickery domain gives you a bunch of arcane illusions.
And do you think they'll still do that
And there
with
was
this
literally-
new structure of the spells as arcane, primal, and divine?
I don't know. There was literally an arcane domain for clerics at one point. I don't know where it's in, but it's just like the magic.
I think it's
domain.
Sword Coast Adventure.
I wonder if it would, because I in my mind how they would have to do it probably to keep it smooth is it would be you have access to the following spells that are from the primal or arcane spell list, and you treat them as divine. I think you would have to do that because I can't believe that there won't be things like divine anti-magic fields and things like that where it matters what
That could be
kind of
something-
spell
that
it
could be
is.
We'll see.
Interesting,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll have to see. 19th level feat, final feat. 20th level epic boon. You gain the epic boon of fate or another epic boon of your choice. So what's the epic boon of fate? Let's pick it up. The epic boon of ska. Epic boon of fate. 20th level mage or priest group. When another creature you can see within 60 feet of you makes a d20 test, you can roll a d10 and apply the number rolled as a bonus or a penalty to that d20 roll. Once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until you roll initiative or finish a short or long rest.
So it's kind of like bardic
Baby's first
inspiration.
bard.
Well, but it's also like cut. Like it's also take away.
Cutting
Yeah.
words and bardic
Yeah.
inspiration
Which I like it.
on a short rest.
You know, I mean, the interesting thing is bards actually can't take this epic boon, but
Imagine if they could.
but I like the idea that, you know, you're blessing your friends with the benevolence of your deity. My God blesses your action. Or you're saying, you will not succeed against me. The dark flame will
I
not
mean-
work.
I just always hate the idea of rolling a d10 and it's a 1, and this is supposed to be your like 20
so
level,
true,
20th
Bean.
level
Once
so
again,
true.
once again, not all epic boons are created
Not all
equal.
epic boons.
This would be a really cool channel divinity for like
Right?
a bardic cleric.
That'd be interesting.
That would be a really
I'm
cool
so
channel divinity.
surprised
It is
that
a
this is the capstone.
garbage capstone.
Let's look
Yeah.
at the other two epic boon options provided here in this document to see which ones we'd prefer. Epic boon of spell recall is another one, available to mage or priests. You can cast any spell that you have prepared without expending a spell slot, provided the spell
That's
is
dope.
5th level or lower. Once you
That's
do
great.
so, once you do so, you can't use this benefit again until you finish a long rest. So you get one.
So you
free.
get basically 1 extra spell slot.
Kinda, yeah.
It's like having a
wherever
pearl
it
of
needs to
power
be.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But juiced up pearl of power.
Or the final option in this document, epic boon of true sight, available only to the priest group. You have true sight to a range of 60 feet.
I would pick
One of
that
these
one.
things is
That
not
one's
like the
very
other.
good.
I would
One
pick
of
that one
these
for
things
sure.
just doesn't belong.
I love
One
that.
of these things is a 6th level spell that you get for free.
I feel like
One of
those,
these
those
things-
scaled up progressively, one after the other.
And one of these things might let you take an average of 3 away from stuff.
Yeah. Having true sight all
like
the time
if
is very,
if
very cool.
if the epic boon of fate just said when another creature that you can see within 60 feet of you makes a d20 test, you can roll a d10 and apply the number as a bonus or as a penalty to the d20 roll. End of sentence. Now that's a capstone.
It is. Oh, that would just mean, though, you do it for
That's all you're
for
doing
every
all
roll.
day.
Yeah.
But-
that just slows
but like
play down.
the fact that it's like not even
Multiple
as
times,
effective as a single bardic inspiration.
No.
Not great.
You just get to do something that another class gets to do at like
What if
level
instead
3.
of
one-
what if instead of rolling a d10, it was a flat number? If it was just 5 or something.
Just I was thinking it would just be plus 10 or another d20 or like you know I don't
See,
know.
in my
geez.
mind,
That's very
That would
interesting.
be,
capstones
that would
should be
see that would be
things like-
bonkers.
Yeah.
but I feel like other classes, you know, highest level abilities they get are things like once a day when you would fail a roll, you can say no, I didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
And so to compare that to
Now,
once a day you
that
can
being
add
said-
any amount, that's just worse. Like that's just not
That being said,
cool.
yeah, like we are kind of like in a world of like we have been given gifts and now we are looking that gift horse directly in its teeth, because the 18th level cleric ability is what used to be the capstone for clerics, where it's just your divine intervention just works.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, it's basically the spell recall one, but just on 18th level.
That is actually so weird, though, then, to think about it. Imagine getting that at 18th level and then picking
And then
this as
getting
your
this.
capstone. Like, how...
But you can stack them. You can do both.
But it feels
your
so
capstone's supposed to
wildly
feel-
out of order.
Interesting. Yeah.
You're supposed to feel like you finally reached the top steps of the temple in your journey as
Finally,
an adventurer.
I can add
and you finally
rolls
get
the
the
die.
biggest,
4
best
points
thing.
of damage. Like, what?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like
Totally fair.
something that bards have been doing for like 10
levels.
levels at this point.
Yeah.
I'm almost surprised that 18th level ability isn't one of the. Well, I guess the problem is
It used to be the capstone.
Here's
Because
But now
they
they've
wanted
replaced capstones with epic boons.
yeah, so I'm thinking about that now. So with the epic boons, part of the issue is that they all seem to apply to at least one whole group.
Yeah.
So you lose the ability to make an epic boon something that would only apply to clerics. So then you do get that weirdness where that is the ultimate thing for a cleric to be able to do. That's it.
To tell God to do
but
something.
it only applies to clerics. So it can't be your 20th level
Epic boon.
And
That a paladin could take.
yeah, and so that is like a little bit weird, but then you run into that issue of like potential power creep because that's so strong, but then it does feel wrong for your 20th level ability to be weaker than your 18th level ability.
I mean, maybe you just need to have certain epic boons that only that class can take.
That's what I'm wondering is would they ever do that, or do they not want to open that can of worms? Because then
So-
that will
Probably
be
not.
Here's an
imbalanced and
interesting
you won't
thing.
have an equal amount for different classes.
So here's something that I find interesting. The epic boons that all of us have immediately been the most compelled by in the ones we've read in this document and in other documents are not ones that say like you can roll one extra die or you get one extra use of a thing. They are things that somehow literally alter your
Yeah.
state of being.
Yeah.
You
they're not
have
limited.
true sight.
We
now.
don't like limited use things. It's just you're better at these
Yeah.
things.
But
because
not
you've
even
been a hero fighting for 20 levels, you should become changed.
Well, yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm saying is it's not even just like you're better at these things. It's like you are somehow
It's-
physically transcended.
It'd be like you can fly now.
You
like
can fly.
you are
Yeah.
different.
You have
Yeah.
you have true sight. You are invisible in darkness now. Like whatever it's something that is a
Oh, they
constant
fly now?
a state of being alteration.
Mm-hmm.
That feels to me like the best form of an epic boon.
You've reached your final form.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and having those be, or that one that was like you always have advantage on death saving throws or whatever it was. Like you can't fail. It was really good. It was the epic boon of like toughness or something like that, which was basically you can almost never die. It was super good.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's a unique change that makes me feel passively constantly different. Like it affects me in every moment of the game, not just once per day I can cast one extra spell.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that's I think they need to focus more in that genre
Like,
of epic boon.
Some of the epic boons from the original Dungeon Master's Guide were if you have the ability to cast 9th level spells, you permanently gain an additional 9th level spell slot.
That's pretty good.
That's what we're talking about.
See,
That's
that's-
like the realm of possibilities that we should be dealing with in all of the boons.
That's why I was so underwhelmed by the epic boon of spell recall, because I was thinking about it. We have a campaign where I am playing a druid that has access to 8th level spells, not 9th yet. But any ability now that, or item that is like, oh, don't worry, you can cast another 3rd level spell. I'm like, that's not cool anymore. Like,
It doesn't do anything for
like
me.
we're at the point where we're like plane hopping and we fight God regularly in that campaign because that's the level that we're at. And so where I'm at now as a full caster is when I'm preparing my spells for the day, I'm like, oof, I only have one 8th level slot. I don't know which of these I'll need. Ooh, that's so difficult. Like, it feels like a big commitment to cast that 8th level spell slot, not knowing if I'll need it later, or to even just like pick what I'm preparing for it. And so getting something that let me just have an additional 9th or 8th level spell instead of a low level spell is way, like, I'll actually notice the difference, like, every session that I'm playing. Just being like, oh, I have an extra spell slot of my highest level spells. I will feel that, and it will make me more powerful. Whereas if I have an extra 5th level spell slot, you don't really, like, that is useful objectively, but you don't really feel the difference. It's not, like, viscerally cool.
Here's my alternate option here. Epic boon of spell recall. During the first round of combat, the first spell you cast does not use a spell slot.
Ooh, see, that's
cool.
That's not explicitly the same thing. It's slightly
Oh yeah,
different.
no, it's different, but it's the idea of.
But it incentivizes a different kind of play.
It's something that's
and, like,
always
planning.
happening to you. That's like, oh, basically throughout the day, I'm gonna get these free spells anytime we have a fight, so I cannot be worried about it like nearly as much. It makes me feel like I have this epic boon of a spell recall, meaning like I don't even need to worry about my spell slots as much. When I really need a spell, I'll have it. When I need it at my
Just
most
open
desperate,
up with a 9th level spell strike.
just
or flame
every
strike or
combat.
something,
Why
you know?
not? Just one, just blast it. Interesting ideas. I mean, it's the idea is we want it to be something that feels powerful, still thematically fits the groups it's available to, but it's thematically tied to this, like we've discussed, this culmination of your journey, that you are irrevocably changed in some way by becoming a 20th level being, like
I think things that let you gain an attribute like True Sight or whatever, or something that says you can cast blank spell at will, that's one that makes you
those
feel
are cool.
changed.
You can just cast darkness
You can
at
cast
will.
invisibility
Yeah.
at will. Anything like that, it's like, oh, I am different now. That doesn't use resources that I'm keeping track of. It's
just a part of my being.
an ability that I have permanently.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's get to the subclass so we can wrap up this episode here. Cleric subclasses, life domain.
That's life.
Each cleric subclass is named after a domain of existence that's favored by a god, a pantheon, or a religious order. When you choose a subclass, you decide why your cleric chose that domain. Life domain. The life domain focuses on the vibrant, positive energy, one of the fundamental forces of the universe that sustains all life. The clerics who tap into this domain are masters of healing, using that force of life to cure many hurts. Existence itself relies on the positive energy associated with this domain, so a cleric of any religious tradition might choose it. This domain is associated with agricultural deities, sun gods, gods of healing or endurance, gods of home and community. Religious orders of healing also seek the powers of this domain. Third level, domain spells. Your connection to this divine domain ensures that you always have certain spells ready. When you reach a cleric level specified in the life domain spells table, you thereafter always have the listed spells prepared. These spells don't count against the number of spells you can prepare, and they follow the rules of this class's spellcasting feature. Third level, you get Lesser Restoration and Prayer of Healing, which has been altered. Fifth level, you get Mass Healing Word Revivify. Seventh level, you get Aura of Life and Death Ward. Ninth level, Greater Restoration, Mass Cure Wounds.
Not bad.
Isn't a death ward just like a morgue?
I'm so glad.
I had nothing else
I'm
to
so glad we
I
have
had
you on
nothing
the
else
channel.
to contribute.
You bring,
I had
you
nothing
bring
else
such a
to
unique,
contribute, so,
perspective.
I
on
wish
all
you
these
could have
I
seen
just-
our faces.
It's too dark in this dungeon for
Just-
you to see. But
Just that, like,
Genuinely
how
stunned faces.
dare that be pretty good?
how dare that
No,
be?
it's not.
Third level, Disciple of Life. Your healing spells are empowered by life itself. When a spell you cast with a spell slot restores hit points to a creature, that creature regains additional hit points on the turn you cast the spell. The additional hit points equal 2 plus the spell's level.
Well, what is it equal to?
2 plus the spell's level.
So it's equal to plus the spell.
Equal 2 plus the spell's level. Any healing spell is just like a little better. Cool. Yeah, that's fine. That's a great third level. I mean, that's
Sure.
it's thematic to healing. It makes all your healing a little bit better. I don't see any downsides here. That sounds
And
great.
it has been severely nerfed
Yeah.
from its original wording. So, if you're not familiar with it, the Disciple of Life ability has had some, let us say, controversies around its functionality with certain spells. The most egregious of which is the Life Berry combo, which some people to this day don't even agree is how it works, because there is the spell Good Berry, and it summons 10 berries into your hand, and each of the berries can be eaten for 1 hit point and nourish you for a whole day. But the way that the wording of the original Disciple of Life spell
So it's like lembas bread with Tylenol in it.
it's lembas bread with is that this would interact with it, and it currently interacts with it on D&D Beyond. Like if you have the Disciple of Life ability, it changes how much Goodberry says it heals.
Interesting.
Which, a lot, but the argument is the spell just creating an item that happens to heal people, or is the spell healing people?
Right.
But so people would be able to just churn out tons and tons of health with just a first level spell, because each of those good berries goes from healing 1 hit point to now healing, to now healing at least 4 hit points, even more if you upcast it. And good berries can last 16 hours, so if you have any leftover spells, you just spam good berry, and then everybody can have a bunch of good berries for the rest of the day. Just handfuls of good berries that are like 8th level good berries that can heal like 15 hit points a mouthful.
Wow.
I see.
But the wording on Disciple of Life in 1 D&D is when a spell you cast with a spell slot restores hit point to a creature.
They gain the hit points on the turn you cast
They
the
regain
spell.
the hit points on the turn you cast the spell. So even if you would rule that Goodberry combos with Disciple of Life,
Only if they somehow ate the berries on the turn you cast the spell.
they have to eat the berries on the turn that you cast it.
Ooh,
so
that'd be an
so
interest.
this settles it once and for all that it doesn't combo with it anymore. The other downside of this is that it no longer works with spells that heal people over time, like Aura of Life or things like that.
Oh, sure.
It also won't
So-
work with your channel divinity. Because
It
it's not a
also
spell
won't work
you're
with your
casting
channel
with a
divinity
spell
because
slot.
it's not healing from a spell.
Interesting. Yeah.
So it's interesting to note that they specifically saw that
Is
combo as a
Goodberry-
thing they didn't want to happen.
Is Goodberry an action? Or is it...
Goodberry, I believe, is an action.
Okay. Can I cast Goodberry, shove all the berries in my friend's mouth, and make him eat them on my turn?
Well, maybe everyone can prepare an action that when you cast Goodberry,
will
they
eat
all
it.
seize a berry from your hand and shove it in their mouth.
on your turn as reactions.
On your
Honestly,
turn as
that's
reaction.
interesting. That could be a fun little turn in combat.
Everybody huddle around.
You know what?
Everyone
you
take
can
your
do
medicine.
it, but a berry's too hard to put in someone's mouth, so you'd have to chew it up and then kiss them.
Okay. You have to mama bird it to him.
I don't think that was necessary to say, Bean.
It doesn't. I think kissing is a free action, so I think it works better in the action economy.
Is kissing a free action? Can we confirm that?
Jeremy?
Jeremy?
I think it's an object interaction if you objectify the person you're
which
kissing.
they've gotten rid of. So
If you objectify the person.
if you
It's an
objectify the
object
person, you
interaction.
can kiss them as a free action.
I mean, corpses are objects, right?
What?
Oh,
Oh
God.
no!
That's in the D&D rules. Corpses are objects. That's
Yeah,
what-
corpse. The moment a person dies, they are no longer a creature and they are now an object.
So first you have to cast Turn Undead on them, and then you can kiss them.
6th level, Preserve Life. You can use your Channel Divinity, so a new option for Channel Divinity here, to heal a group of the critically injured. As an action, you expend 1 use of your Channel Divinity and present your holy symbol, restoring a number of hit points equal to 5 times your cleric level. Choose any creatures within 30 feet of yourself. You can choose yourself. And divide those hit points among the chosen creatures. This feature can bring a creature's current hit points to no more than half its hit point maximum. So if everyone's really hurt, you can bring everyone up a good amount.
Up to at least their.
Yeah.
But if one person is only half hurt, you can't. It doesn't do anything. You can't help them.
No.
If one person is only half hurt, then you use the first level ability.
Yeah, you use the normal one that just kind of heals them a little bit. You shock them with your cross or whatever.
That'll
I
revive
feel
anyone
like
who's down.
It would revive people who are down, which is very good.
I feel like this is, now that we have the first level, channel divinity of you can heal or hurt, I feel like Preserve Life is superfluous. Yes, it technically can heal more, but healing up to no more than half of someone's hit points never feels good in any, there are multiple abilities that do this, and all of them are regarded as bad.
Yeah. But as just an option, I can see a point at which you need to bring multiple people back up from 0. that it could really come in
like
clutch.
That's a very good use of that.
You've got
so I suppose
your barbarian and your fighter just both went down, and you need to get them both back up quick.
You do already have mass
If there's
healing
a-
word.
Well, not at that level.
You get mass healing word at 5th.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
Well, no,
I
I know,
was
but you
thinking
don't need
'cause-
a spell slot for this.
True.
Yeah, you don't
true.
need a spell slot.
I'm just
And
saying it doesn't do
especially-
something that you can't already do functionally, more
Yeah.
or less.
But without a spell.
Especially if you took the Thaumaturge, Holy Order.
You get an extra one.
Then you would be able to do this just all the time. Like a Thaumaturge life domain cleric, those boys aren't going down.
That's a good. Yeah.
Those boys aren't going down anytime soon.
I mean, for sure. So I just had an idea. Onog, earlier you said you can hurt. What was it? You can help or hurt. You said
Help or hurt, yeah.
with the divine spark. It should just be called wheel or woe. And then
No,
Heal
that's
or
already
woe.
something.
no. It should be called
Heal or woe.
It should be called wheel or woe. But then the 5th level one where you do both of them at the same time is wheel and woe.
No. The semantics are already a problem.
10th level, Blessed Healer. The healing spells you cast on others heal you as well. When you cast a spell with a spell slot on another creature that restores hit points to it, you regain hit points equal to 2 plus the spell's level on the turn you cast the spell.
You know, if you help others just to make yourself feel good, is it really altruism?
That's
Does that really make you a good person?
It makes me a healthier person because I am gaining hit points.
That's true.
So it helps me out in that way, I suppose. Morally speaking, take it up with God. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It just rewards you to do the thing you're supposed to be doing, right? Like, that's good design. Do the thing you want to do, and it also helps you as well. Nice.
Well, I feel like it's often a classic healer situation where you've healed everyone else, but you're down and no one's helping you, so that helps kind of negate that.
Yeah. The classic.
Who will heal the healer?
Yeah, the healer spends all their turns healing themselves so that they'll be up to heal everyone else, but then they haven't been spending their time healing everyone else, so everyone else is down.
Yeah, it does allow you to preserve your resources, which is an important thing. I think it's one of those things where now, especially with the one D&D version of things, the life cleric has like 2 levels of play that it's like 2 avenues of play that it's going after, and one is expending my spell slots and the other is expending my channel divinities, because at a certain point you have just as many of one as you have the other, but not all of your abilities interact with one, and some of your abilities only interact with the other. So it does kind of like literally channel the life cleric into these are the things I do.
Yeah. I mean, but that makes sense to me of being like, they talked about in an early interview with Jeremy, he talked about wanting to make the most clericiest cleric, the healeriest healer, like really hitting the niches of those fantasies and being like, everything should propel you towards that. You're also going to be taking the healer feat, and you're also going to be taking all these things that make you the pinnacle of that thing. And yeah, I mean, this life domain cleric, every turn, they're highly incentivized to be healing things constantly.
What's interesting to me, thinking about this, the healing spells you cast on others heal you as well, it's sort of the inverse of something that I've played around with, homebrewing spells that let you heal other people instead of yourself, or
You
let
sacrifice
yeah
something.
like sacrifice. And that just made
Like
me
you
think
could channel
I would
your hit points
love
into spell
to
levels or
see a
something.
cleric subclass, and I feel like this is an obvious
Martyrdom cleric.
yeah, like a sacrifice cleric, like a complete inverse of this that hits a totally different niche. I would love to see it with using a lot of mechanics that are often associated in video games with like a berserker class or something, where it's like you want to be at low hit points, and like the lower you are, the more
better
damage
you
you
are.
do,
Yeah.
and the more you can help other people. Maybe when you take damage, you can give the hit
Heal
points you
people.
lost to someone else. Like, I would just be super interested in seeing
That's an interesting concept.
like
I
some sort of
know
self-flagellation
masochistic,
cleric. Yeah.
I know the Matthew Mercer's Blood Hunter does stuff like that, where they literally, while they are like channeling their class ability or something like that, as they level up, they lose permanent hit points. Just they temporarily lose their maximum hit points.
I don't know. Sometimes it kills people when they do that.
Sometimes it kills people when they do that, as we've seen in Critical Role, where Mollymock tried to use his Blood Hunter abilities, and he only had 2 hit points left, and his Blood Hunter abilities required 2 of his hit points, and he just fell dead.
I mean, I always feel like those.
But there is like a class, and so maybe if like we had like a cleric domain, or maybe like an expansion on the Blood Hunter where it's like you're the cleric of the Blood Hunters, where you like focus on keeping everybody up, and your spells or your abilities that heal are empowered the more that you are hurt.
Because I feel like when you're looking at what are the subclasses that we're gonna hit in the player's handbook for these different classes, you want to have one of them that's the more straightforward, the fighteriest fighter, the healeriest healer for people who are newer to it, or who just want to do that sort of platonic version of that thing. And then it's cool to have one, I think, that is maybe a quote unquote like more advanced or more higher risk, higher reward, a little more complicated, a little more subversive. And I feel like that is such a narrative cliche, and I use that word like positively, that's such a common character trope of the masochistic zealot that I just feel like that's underutilized in D&D. I feel like it's right there.
Mercy, there's one big glaring problem which I think that you've overlooked. I feel like you've missed the problem is if you make the masochistic martyrdom cleric, it's gonna just become the kink cleric, like so fast.
Yeah,
it's just gonna become the like smack me cleric. Like they're gonna get weird about it. So it's already hard not to get weird about so many things in D&D. Every
time they pray to their god, they call him daddy.
Yeah, it's gonna the classic.
I have chosen to cause problems.
The classic
it's not forgive me, Father.
The classic one priest there being like, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned," and the next priest next to him like, "I'm sorry, Daddy." Like,
and it's like, no,
this is the worst. I hate this. Yeah. That's what would happen. So that's why we can't have it. We can't have nice things.
Yeah. This is why. It's because you all can't be trusted.
Yeah.
You all can't behave.
We believe in kink shaming, but just for you.
I've seen your fan art. I know you can't behave.
No, but they want to be shamed,
No,
Thomas.
dang it! I fell right into the trap.
Kink shaming is my kink.
14th level. Let's finish this off and round out the video here. 14th level, Supreme Healing.
That's just like healing with sour cream, right?
Yeah.
Healing supreme.
Yeah, it's with olives. When you would normally roll 1 or more dice to restore hit points to a creature with a spell that you cast with a spell slot, don't roll those dice for the healing. Instead, use the highest number possible for each die. For example, instead of restoring 2d6 hit points, you restore 12.
Very good.
You just get maximum rolls on all your healing spells.
Because nobody likes rolling a 1.
That feels
Like
good.
Yeah.
That feels good.
I mean, yeah, that's the good healing capstone. That makes you feel like you're just always... And from 14th level on, I mean, that's really quite nice. There's a good portion of the game left if you want to go into those high tiers, and knowing reliably how much healing all your spells do is massive.
That's great.
Then okay, so let's do the math then.
No,
especially
it's fine.
because
we don't have to do
no,
math.
but I want to say it. So especially because Blessed Healer also has had its wording changed to be buffed, because the original Blessed Healer would only work if the spell only healed someone other than you. So, but the way that it's currently worded, if you do like mass healing word and include yourself, it still works and gives you the extra healing.
Oh, because it says, interesting. That might be a wording oversight, because it says cast a spell with a spell slot on another creature. Does that mean like targeting another creature?
Does that mean it has to target them, or does as long as another creature benefits, do you get this benefit?
With a range of one other creature? Like, what is it?
Ooh, that is a problem.
That wording is unclear.
Because on another creature is not codified language in D&D mechanically.
Oh, no, why did you bring math into this? You ruined everything.
Okay, but it could be interpreted.
Yeah. Let's roll with this interpretation.
So let's see. Mass cure wounds.
Mass cure wounds is so handy, but it's so annoying that you have to give everyone a wafer.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have to line up and come up to you one by one.
Ow.
Yeah.
See, I think that wafer would be lembas bread with
That's the
a-
good berry.
Tylenol.
Yeah.
with Tylenol in
So-
it. But I would argue a good berry is Tylenol with lembas bread in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually a good point.
So, Mask Cure Wounds is a 5th level spell that heals 3d8 plus your spell casting ability to 6 creatures. So, with Mask Cure Wounds, and if you were casting it while you were a 14th level cleric, a life cleric,
You roll max.
you would roll max, so that's 32 plus your spellcasting ability. Let's assume 5. So that's 37. So plus
Let's
your
assume 0 friction.
let's assuming 0 friction plus your disciple of life. It's 2 plus the spell's level to everybody. So that's 7 more hit points. So it's 44 plus if we interpret Blessed Healer the way we interpret it,
As also triggering on this.
as also triggering, you gain another 7. So it heals 6 creatures 44 hit points at 5th level, and you get 51 hit points.
I think
That's pretty good.
technically, I mean, any time that it says that you always do max, then it functionally doubles the average because the average
Well,
would
yeah,
be half.
'cause it's
So
max.
it's,
The
but when you
average is
think about
already
it that
half,
way,
yeah.
that makes it feel even stronger when you think
Yeah.
of it as
Doubling.
doubling your average.
I mean,
That's
for sure.
massive.
That's a lot of That's in the reverse of the classic quote. That's a lot of healing. Yeah. I like it. And then for your, capstone, you can cast one spell one more time per day.
And you can cast Mass Cure Wounds once more.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's huge at that point.
Yeah, for real though.
That's a lot
That
of
actually
healing you
might
get
be
out of
worth something to the people who make their spells behave as though they were higher level spell slots than they really were.
Yeah, that's a good point. 5th level and lower ends up being a lot better if your subclass ends up modifying all your spells to be way better than they should normally be. Interesting. That's a fun little combo there that makes that seem better than it is on the surface, I think. I think the Boon of Fate's still bad, though. Boon of Fate's still bad. Still bad.
But yeah, so that's the Healy Wheelie Automobile.
That's the Life Cleric and our thoughts on the 1D&D new Cleric class. Real quick, before we wrap up, any final thoughts anybody had that before I end out the episode?
Man, I just really hope that when they actually release this new player's handbook, that they make all of the boons good, because I could totally see them falling into what we were talking about of then having to go, okay, well, here's a boon that's just for clerics, and then you're gonna end up with that like with the ranger or something where it's like they keep trying to patch something and now it's imbalanced where there's like 15 boons for clerics specifically and only one that's only for wizards, and like and then
Interesting.
they're gonna want to re-clean that up in a new edition again because now we've made a mess. So I just hope that we get them balanced, because I think and I know it's still early, but I feel like they've, every time we've looked at them, have been so wildly imbalanced
Yeah.
that it concerns me a little.
We'll have to see. That's what the feedback is for, folks. Remember to, if you have been enjoying our coverage of 1D&D, submit feedback when they have their surveys out. I don't know if they currently have a survey out, but you can always go check.
No, they for these 1D&D ones, they've usually been waiting about a month for people to, actually play test what's going on.
And then give the survey. Yeah.
When you fill out your survey, just post a link to this episode.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
don't
yeah.
do that. They will not watch it.
Guys, if anything ever happens to Jeremy Crawford, if he ever goes missing, we're all gonna get arrested because of these jokes we keep making.
Yeah, jokes.
I do have a
Legally, I have
personal
to
hot
say
take.
they're jokes.
I do have a personal hot take with specifically the first level ability channel Divinity.
Oh, yes.
If we have some time for
Heat
that.
me up with the take, Onog. This is the final take of the episode.
So personally, I think having things scale off of proficiency bonus is a wonderful thing for specifically races and sub-races and species. For your actual class, I think it should be more along the lines of following something that actually levels up your class, or that would level up with your class. So as this currently stands, if someone just took a 1 level dip into Cleric, they have access to two different channel abilities, and even if they never take another level in Cleric again or make no investments into anything Cleric-y, their channel divinities are going to keep getting stronger as they level up, even if they're a barbarian.
True.
They'll get more and more of them as they go, yeah.
So, like, if the actual channel divinities, very much like how, and this is the same thing I said with the Bard, where it's like how the Bard used to have their bardic inspiration based off of charisma. I think having channel divinity based off of your wisdom isn't that bad of a thing, because even if you can still get better at it, even if you don't want to invest in Cleric, but you still have to invest in the things Clerics care about. But right now the best thing to do is to just like take 1 or 2 levels of Cleric and then go into something else, and you just have, you will have 6 channel divinities, and you can recover 1 on a short rest all the time. So you'll just be able to churn out all these channel divinities when it's supposed to be the Cleric's signature thing, and now you just have it, and it's just as good as the full-blooded Cleric in your party.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
That's a valid point, especially in the consideration of this whole redesign, where they wanted to give everyone their unique option earlier to make them feel more distinct. But in the light of the concept of multi-classing, it means that anyone else could sort of steal your unique thing that used to just make you unique and also have it in addition to their unique thing, and then make you feel kind of redundant.
Something I've heard people complaining about how the current Ranger is set up is all they have to do is take 1 level of Ranger, and now they get Hunter's Mark for free with no concentration forever.
Yeah.
And that was something we hadn't even considered when we were talking about it. It's like, yeah, no, that might be something that maybe we don't want to just hand out to everybody.
I think we all know the only answer here: remove multi-classing from the game. Just cut it out completely.
Remove multi-classing entirely.
That's a really good point, though.
I think making it based off of your actual stats, because it is your class, that is something that can be reasonably asked of you. Like, it makes sense, especially with the way they want the species and sub-races to work now, is that it's like, well, we don't want to demand that you lean into one ability or the other based on how your character is and your background. We don't want to demand that, that all wood elves spec into wisdom because that's what the magic works off of. Now they can choose like intelligence or charisma or wisdom, and having things that they can do based off of your proficiency works really well. But I think classes should still have the primary ability actually mean something other than your spell potency.
Yeah.
Like, I even think blade singers, they got the proficiency bonus to their blade song. I think it should just be you can do it equal to your intelligence modifier. And so there's more incentive to just keep boosting your intelligence modifier as opposed to just leveling up and now you can just do more even though you didn't invest in that ability at all.
Certainly with regard to your earlier level abilities too, because that's where people are
especially
multi-classing,
on your
they're going
earlier
to dip
level
in. I like that because that also incentivizes
Which is interesting
more.
we also talked about how late level abilities shouldn't be proficiency based because it doesn't change at late levels. It's
True.
always just 5 or whatever.
True.
Like I said, yeah, it's a good thing that they've discovered and now they're overusing it, the proficiency bonus trick.
Because what you're describing, it incentivizes narrative character building more as well, instead of just saying, well, functionally, like, the best thing to do is to take 2 levels of Ranger or whatever. If you do that and you want it to be good, you will have to play a high wisdom character for that to be anything, which is going to affect a lot of your more role play skills as well. You know, theoretically. I like that it at least pushes you in that direction of having to commit to a character type, and I think that's smart.
And that will also prevent people from doing like these weird mangled like 7-class multi-class things where it's like, well, I have a 13 in wisdom because I need to take at least 1 level of cleric and they require 13 wisdom, and stuff like that, where it's like, if you actually have to invest in wisdom for the abilities you get early on to be good, then we'll stop getting like I have 13 charisma, 13 wisdom, and 90 intelligence because I'm a wizard that took bard levels and cleric levels so that I could get all their early level abilities that make my wizard abilities work for some reason. Yeah, and so it's like we stop getting these mangled multi-classes. We get real narrative multi-classes that actually work, and people can still like power game if they want, but it's one of the most bothersome things to me is when I see multiple 13s in somebody's stat block so that they can multi-class like 5 times. It always bothers me. I'm like, this isn't a person. This isn't a character. You're just doing stuff.
You're just
and
playing
I'm
a
the resident
spreadsheet.
Power gamer.
Yeah.
I'm the resident power gamer being like, no,
It is
no,
wild to hear this coming from you.
Stop doing that. That's not fun. That's not interesting.
Yeah.
You're putting half a person on a piece of paper.
Maybe we just gotta say you can only multi-class once. Like you can, once you commit to your second class, that you're done.
No, let's not get.
No, I
let's
like
not get ahead of ourselves.
leaving it, letting you do whatever you want, but incentivizing.
Yeah, I think the real trick
Commitment,
is
yeah.
to
But that's
incentivize
the thing is, if
the kind of play.
multi-classing once into every class is just bad and wrong, why let me do it at all?
Because it's funny as a joke.
Is it? Let's ask the clown.
We've had a clown
I guess
this
it is.
whole time.
I was hoping Bean would say something.
Bean is the resident clown. Yeah.
I sort of assumed.
We have so passed the things that I can comment on.
I was just
And
hoping
I'll
somehow
be
Bean
very
would
forward.
know I meant I want a funny joke from Bean right now. But like just intuitively.
It's the one time.
No. Mercy making a clown
was
noise
also very
much
good.
better. I'll be very honest. I've been zoning out.
No, that's
this
understandable.
Whole conversation.
That's totally fair.
Sorry.
Here, hit me up again.
I don't know, like let's ask the clown.
Multi-class. Hardly. I've never been to school.
Thanks for listening, travelers. Tell us your thoughts on 1D&D in the comments below. Specifically, how do you think we should address the cleric here going forward? Do you think having channel divinity scale off of proficiencies good? Bad? How would you plan it out? Do you think classes getting their iconic features at first level is good because it lets you get into your iconic stuff earlier? Or do you think there's some downsides with multi-classing and feeling like other people can take away your unique thing and just have it themselves? Let us know your thoughts about all that in the comments below. Remember to like the video and subscribe for future updates on 1D&D, as well as videos on homebrew created by the D&D community. We haven't made one of those in a little while, but we'll be making one very shortly. We'll also be addressing the second half of this document in an upcoming video, some new race options for 1D&D, including Ardlings, Goliaths, and Dragonborn. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, keep on adventuring.
Bye.
Bye.
Working hard or ardlings working?